Okay, cool. All right, what's happening, Max?
Hey man, how
How
are
you
you?
doing?
Good.
Good, good. Cool. So, I guess to start, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So I've had quite a journey here in the US. I came from Russia when I was 11, had a full ride scholarship to a boarding school in Miami, and got my undergrad at Michigan and my master's at University of Tampa. Started working as a financial analyst and honestly. And after like 7 years of education, that pertains strictly to finance, I found myself in a place where, I've spent so much time trying to pursue something that I ultimately ended up not enjoying. So in the last couple of months, I moved to Hawaii and just, try to start life all over again, basically, or in my professional life at least. So I found your program, thought it was awesome, thought it was a really cool concept, and just wanted to get started. So I got your training, and I'm just in the very beginning stages. I started my LLC and my bank account, but just wanted to kind of talk to you and see if you have any advice or
Sweet. Okay, so brand new, moved to Hawaii. That's super cool. Um, so there's a lot of definitely a lot of different places that we can go with it. Fill me in. Like you just started your LLC, so that's pretty much step number one. Have you started doing any lead generation to try to get clients yet?
no. So I just kind of jumped into this. Saw an opportunity to get on a call with you, and just kind of wanted to talk strategy and see what advice you'd have for lead generation and locking down a couple of properties.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's good. And we'll get into some specific strategies in a second, and I'll share my screen and show you some things. But just so I understand too, did you look at any of the videos on lead gen or not? Not yet.
Not yet.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so this is where I'll start, and this is where I start with everyone who's kind of in the position you're in. Is when it comes to lead generation and like getting your first coaching client. What I always tell people, because I don't know how you're feeling about it, but I'd say most people are super nervous talking to people and just like scared to pick up the phone, talk to people for the first one, and it's totally normal. What I would say is just in for a mindset perspective, just know that the first person you talk to over the phone is not going to become your client. Okay. Just go in with that expectation that you're going to get rejected before someone says yes to you. And by having that perspective, it makes like that first call a success in itself because you can't get the yes until you get the no first. So I've seen plenty of people get a yes on the first time, but I just want to set like a low expectation that, hey, before you actually get someone to say yes, someone needs to say no to you. That way you don't worry about, let me try to get someone to say yes to me as soon as possible. It's more of like, hey, let me try to get someone to say no to me as soon as possible. That way I can't get the yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So with that being said, the question becomes, what's the quickest way to get a no? Or, like, to be honest, like, what's the quickest way to spark conversations with people is really what it comes down to. So we'll get into some tactical strategies, but I'll ask you this first. Do you know anybody in your network that is involved in real estate in any way, shape, or form?
So I actually just got a job as a mortgage wholesaler, and I
Okay.
know that I can, ask my colleagues and just kind of explain to them that I've started this company for co-hosting and possibly reach out through them to their contacts. And then I have one or two people in Florida that do long-term rentals.
Okay. Cool. So that's like first place to start with your colleagues and on the mortgage side. It's as simple as just sparking conversations, kind of like what you said, just started this coasting thing because a lot of their clients might be looking for somebody. Like you'd be surprised. It happens a lot where people just need that referral. And if you know the people in the mortgage business, and then they know the people who have the properties, it makes you a lot more credible, even with no experience from the start. So that's good right there. And then you said a couple people in Florida who have long term rentals. Is that right?
Mhm. Yep.
Well, so with people like that who have long term rentals, it's really just as simple as start the conversation of, "Hey, I'm just curious, have you ever considered turning your long-term rentals into a short-term rental? Another thing that you can do, depending do you know what areas in Florida they're in?
Uh, there's some properties in West Palm, some in
Okay.
Orlando, and some in Tampa.
Okay, cool. Because another thing too, just like again, common objections or common things that people say is like, "Oh, well, this area isn't like a great tourist destination, or this area isn't like right on the beach, so no one would rent it as an Airbnb or that kind of thing." Another thing you could do with those types of properties would be doing like a midterm rental. So I would never like if someone gives you kind of an immediate objection of like, "Oh no, it won't work for this property." Kind of dig in and find out why they're actually saying that or why they think so. Because usually, and you'll see it like the very end of the course, there's a whole section on midterm rentals. That's a solution that will turn a property from it doesn't really make sense as a short term rental, like no one's really vacationing here, to a very profitable strategy that for my properties, a lot of my midterm rentals make more money than the short term rentals right now, especially. So just keep that in mind when you're talking to different people there. But okay, cool. So, step number one, reach out to your network. Another thing that I do, and this is in the short term rental toolkit. So, you have access to that Google Drive folder.
Mhm.
There's a tool in there called Facebook Post. And literally, you can copy and paste, but make it your own. It's a Facebook post that you can send out to your network. It's basically kind of doing what you were mentioning to the mortgage, um, your colleagues, basically, saying, hey guys, started this business. Um, and it's just like an easy way for people to say, "Oh, no way, you're doing that?" Like, I have a friend who actually just bought a property. It's we and there's more, examples in there, but that's a super good strategy and easy to just, like, throw out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any questions so far?
Yeah. So outside of reaching out to your own network and Facebook, are there any other strategies for lead generation?
Yes, alright, that's where we're going next, that's good. So, the strategies we just talked about is kind of just like they're what we call, like, the low-hanging fruit, just, like, do it because it's easy and fast. Doesn't necessarily mean you can get instant results, but you just kinda get them out of the way. Then there's lead generation strategies that you're talking to strangers. So one of the ways, and this is again less direct, and then I'll get like super tactical with you. But the less direct way is, and I still recommend this regardless, is go to meetups. Like if there's real estate investor meetups near you, go to them, network with people, and just strike up conversations with people. That's like one way that I've gotten co-hosting clients from, and a lot of my students have as well. Literally talk to people. Like it sounds easy or crazy, but like you just gotta talk to people. That's number one. But then, okay, to get tactical here, my favorite strategies are the strategies where you can pick up the phone and call people. Do you have experience with that being a mortgage wholesaler or no?
So I just started out and
Okay.
I have experience through other jobs and I'm not afraid to call people.
Okay, cool. So there's a couple different ways you can actually do this, and I'm going to share my screen with you. So give me 1 second here, and I will literally share my screen and show you exactly what I mean. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So have you heard of Furnish Finder before?
No.
Okay, so Furnish Finder is essentially a platform where traveling medical professionals will
Mhm.
go to find housing. So if someone has like a short contract, like a 3-month contract working at a hospital for a short period of time, they can go on to Furnish Finder and they can find houses. Other people use Furnish Finder, not just traveling medical professionals. It's also like traveling construction crews will look on Furnish Finder. Insurance companies for the midterm rentals will look on Furnish Finder. So there's a lot of people, but this is kind of the first place that I would start. Do you have a market in mind that you wanted to start with?
Hawaii would be ideal.
Okay, and where in Hawaii?
Oahu. So close to
Is that
Honolulu.
OH?
Oahu.
How do you spell it?
OAHU.
Say it one more time.
OAHU.
There we go. Okay. So what you can do here is search Oahu. All right, and then you can see there's 120 properties available. So what you can do here And you can filter the bedroom count. I'd kind of just leave it open. But what you can do is let's just click on this first one as an example. So we have this property, entire home in, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that, near the medical center, right? What you could literally do is click on view phone number,
Mhm.
okay? And you'll see this one says, okay, we need to verify you're a real user. Okay, so you have to have an account with Furnish Finder. It's completely free. So I would just say, sign up for an account. Again, it's completely free. And then what happens, let me just put in my verification code that they send, and I'll show you. Give me 1 second. Oh, it's asking for my phone number. Hold on. I will. I use like this third party phone system, and I got to get on my computer. But we'll skip this part for now. But basically, what I'm trying to show you is once you put in your phone number, you verify. It'll literally give you the owner's phone number right.
Mhm.
Like it'll literally pop up their phone number right there. There are going to be times where it says like owner doesn't want to be called, they want to be emailed, and then it might give you their email instead. And you can just skip those. I would say a majority of them, you will actually get their phone number right here. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Then from there, it's literally a matter of giving them a call. And if they don't answer, you can text them too and saying, hey, I saw your property on Furnish Finder. Is it still available? Yes, it is. Or no, it's not. Whatever the case is. And just literally strike up conversation. Let me come back here. Okay. So your goal on that call is not to sell them and not to pitch them right away. It's not the goal. The whole goal of that call is just to have an introduction with them, just to talk with them, get to know them, understand them, ask some questions, and then I would set up a call for a later time if they are looking for help with their property. It's like, hey, is your property still available? Yes, it is still available. Okay, gotcha. And then you can kind of just introduce yourself, let them know what you do, and just say, is this something that may be interesting to you? And then if they say, no, not interested, okay, move on. There's 100 other properties on there. But that is like the quickest way to start talking to people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What would be my value proposition in this?
If they're not booked, your value proposition is you're going to help them get more bookings. So
Okay.
that's one of them. Um, you can ask them questions such as, "Hey, are you also listed on other platforms like Airbnb, Verbo?" "No, I d," and again, everyone has different reasons. "No, I don't have time to do it. I've heard of it, but I'm not on it yet." So your value proposition is really gonna be whatever they need help with that you can help with, that's your value. So I wouldn't like, let's just say, for example, I consider myself really good at pricing a property. If I call somebody, I'm not going to lead with, hey, I'm an expert pricer, revenue manager. I'm not going to lead with that because they might not even need that. They might not care. Who knows? But if you start by just asking them questions, they're going to let you know what they need. If they say, "Hey, our property is completely available right now," you can ask them, how long has it been empty for?" 3 months. Oh, wow. Okay. What do you feel like is the problem? Like, why do you feel like you haven't been able to get like a guest in your property in 3 months? Well, honestly, like, again, I'm just making up responses that you'll get. Like, oh, well, me and my husband or me, whatever, we've honestly just been super busy. We haven't had time to really like focus on it and market it and this and that. Or again, they could say a million different answers. They could say, "Yeah, we're getting a lot of inquiries for it, but no one really wants to pay the price that we're charging." Um, Again, a million different things, but figure out what their pain is. Let them know if it's something that you think you can solve, you can essentially either tell them right then, but I like to kind of schedule a second call. That way you can kind of prepare yourself, especially
Mhm.
on the first one. That's like the toughest one. For me, I could pretty much spitball on the spot any problem someone's having, but the beginning, it gets a little hard.
I gotcha. And how many calls do you make on average to secure a property?
So The numbers that I say is usually 100 people that you call, you should get at least 3 people who are interested in actually talking to you. You'll get more people that answer and people say no right away and just whatever, all that stuff. But I would say out of 100, about 3 of them will be like, "All right, I'll hear you out." And then from those 3, like, in the beginning, when your sales skills aren't as good in this industry, you should be able to close 1. So my thing is always like, call 100 people, you should get 1. But one caveat to that, you can't just call 100 people today and then just expect to close someone tomorrow. Like, because the people that you call, half of them might not even answer. So then you're texting, then you can text them too. Or then the next day you have to call them back again. So I recommend you can literally just use like a spreadsheet, like Google Sheets or whatever, and keep track of it all because it definitely gets a little messy if you don't.
Hmm.
Does that
Gotcha.
make sense?
Yeah, it does. And you can also do this in any area of the country, right? Like you don't actually have to be where you live.
Correct. The only thing that I would say for you being in Hawaii is I would be careful with time zones. So I wouldn't recommend going to um, the East Coast and then like if a guest messages you, it's gonna be you're gonna kind of be thrown off time zone. Like if it's 8 a.m. where you are and it's a different time zone where they are, you might not be able to respond fast, and that can be a problem. So that's like the only thing. In the same note, you could hire a virtual assistant to do the messaging for you. I just don't really recommend it to do it for your first property ever.
Mhm.
So that's the only thing I think about there.
Okay, and the virtual assistant basically is I'm getting like some outsourced like worker in a country where you can get labor for cheaper, and
Exactly.
they can do it 24/7, right?
Yes, but so in the like yes and no. Eventually, yes, they can do it 24/7, but a typical virtual assistant's gonna only work even if they work 12 hours a day, you're not gonna wanna hire another virtual assistant to work the other 12 hours of the day
Hmm.
because it's just not cost efficient. So, especially for your first property. So, eventually, absolutely, you can do that, but starting out, I recommend just, like, you doing it yourself, and then when you feel like you, um, have enough properties, then you can hire your first one. Just to give you some context too, a virtual assistant is, like, 5 or $6 an hour, if you're doing it like the Philippines, that's what I do. So I pay her $1,000 per month, and she works like 40 hours a week.
Hmm.
So just to give you some numbers.
Okay, and where do you find them?
So online jobs ph, onlinejobs.ph, that's one site, or Upwork is another site that I use.
Okay, which one is cheaper?
They're kind of the same, to be honest. They're just like different platforms. I mean, I guess online jobs ph has like a $50 fee you have to pay up front.
Hmm.
So I guess that one's technically more expensive, although onlinejobs.ph, I think a lot more people are looking for like real longer term work there, but you can find there's plenty of people on both platforms for sure.
Okay, cool. Um, so can you maybe tell me like a little bit about your most successful students and what they've accomplished and how they've done it?
Yeah. Um, that's a really tough question because I don't honestly know where to start. Um, I think I'm picking favorites at this point.
Well, you don't have to give me a
Uh,
name.
yeah, I'm trying to think of everyone has such a different, unique story. I'll tell you a couple. I'll tell you a couple different. I'll tell you a couple different strategies I guess people have used, and I'll kind of go from there. So we've had honestly a lot of people. If you go into the short term rental toolkit, that Facebook post I was telling you about, that Facebook post alone has landed a lot of our students, a lot of clients. Literally just from people not just in their network, but in their network's network. That has been like the number one, and not the number one source, but that has been like a huge like source for getting started right away. Um, Second thing I would say is students who have partnered with real estate investors. So it's by again, just starting with one. So it's like doing the cold calling or whatever, finding one person who is an investor and then snowballing from there. Um, and I guess that's actually kind of a theme that I've seen throughout all of our students, not the investor part, but the referral side of things. Because the beauty is once you have one person who owns a property, they they know somebody else who owns a property, like 9 times out of 10. So it becomes a snowball effect, and that's what I've seen is once you have one, then either they're gonna buy another property or they already have another property, or they know somebody who has a property, and if they're pleased with you, they're gonna refer you to somebody else. So that's been, like, a really awesome strategy, um, and that's a lot like, that's passive, you don't have to do anything to get a referral besides perform well, but that's something that I've seen help people snowball super fast. Another strategy that I know, I'll name him, his name's Chris, he's in, like, the Northeast. He talks with a lot of realtors, so he'll get a lot of referrals from realtors. That's been super awesome. Um, but yeah, honestly, like, once you get the ball rolling, you can keep up with the lead gen strategies and just networking, but that's when, like, referrals will start coming in, and that's when it becomes and the beautiful thing about that too is at the time where you're gonna be hiring a virtual assistant and you're gonna need to be, like, running that side of the business and kinda getting that back end sorted, that's usually the time where you'll start getting referrals. So you don't need to do as much lead generation because it starts to come to you and you can choose, all right, I wanna pour more fuel onto the fire or, hey, I wanna kinda chill a little bit because I need to get the operations
Mm.
steady. So that's what I'd say. And then one other thing I'll throw on top is um in in the course, like, we talked about a couple of lead gen strategies, you'll see all of them there. So, truthfully speaking, like, every single strategy that's in there, either I've used or a student has used successfully. So, it really comes down to what are you most comfortable with and what are you most comfortable with doing. I have another student, his name is, shoot, I'm blanking on his name, he's in North Carolina, Adam. He's a waiter at a restaurant. He's found a lot of success literally networking um, with people that come in. He works at, like, a little bit nicer restaurant. So he started co-hosting for this guy who owns, like, I don't like, some type of, like, biotech I don't know, some company. The guy had money, had a property, started co-hosting for him. He has a meeting with, like, some surgeon who came in who has some money that he wants to buy a property. So everyone's kind of what I've seen is just, like, there's no wrong path. It's just whatever path you can go all in on, use whatever your unique advantage is. It sounds like one of your unique advantages, just from talking to you, is the fact that that you're in the mortgage industry. So you're a lot closer to people who have properties than someone who's not in your position. Makes sense.
It does, but I also feel like I have to establish some credentials. And, because if my colleagues are to vouch for me to the clients, then they need to know that I'm able to do this, right?
Mhm.
So I look forward to it. And I think that I will try to use the mortgage industry as an angle in. But I think that for my initial property, I will go with a route of the personal network just because it kind of gives me an opportunity to field myself from, exposing my colleagues in case, I mess up on something, and it kind of gives me the ability to work more with like friends and, possibly make mistakes, than to do it with referrals from work. And then once I already know what I'm doing, then I can go out to work and I already have it established, maybe one or two properties.
Yeah. The one other thing I'll say about that though is, let's just say you have a colleague from work, right? And they maybe know someone who's in the Airbnb industry. However they know them doesn't matter. Let's say they know somebody, and their listing isn't performing well. They're not doing well for whatever reason. Even if you don't have experience, you can be another set of eyes for them and help them. It doesn't even mean you have to be their co-host. It doesn't mean you have to do anything for them for money. It could literally just start out as, hey, like your colleague saying like, hey, like this Airbnb is not performing well. Um, they're just not they're not doing too hot with it, right?
Mhm.
You can come in and say, hey, I'm happy to just do like a free like listing audit just to see what's going on with the property. and if there's anything I can see from a different angle that maybe you're not seeing. And maybe your first client is completely free. Maybe you literally just you look at their listing and say, yeah, one thing that I noticed after looking at the competitors in the market is your I mean, there's a million different things that could be wrong with it, and a lot of it, honestly, comes down to 2 things. Number 1, common sense. 2, effort. So, even someone like you who doesn't have experience with Airbnbs necessarily, you can look at, um, their property and say, "You know what? One thing that I noticed is your reviews say XYZ, or maybe your photos aren't the best. Maybe your description isn't really targeting anybody." And what
Mhm.
you can do too is you can look at the competitors in the market, look at the best rated properties, literally see what they're doing, and then look at their list and say, well, they're doing this. You're not doing this. You're doing this. So from there, you could build a case study essentially completely for free of how you help the listing. You can even edit the description for them for free or whatever the case may be. But that could be also just a foot in the door. And I've seen people do that as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. Other questions on your end? These are good questions.
Um, I mean, I am trying to understand how to look at this, right? Because I would love to have like 10 or 20 properties, right? What what what's the highest amount that someone in the class has acquired?
The fastest that someone I mean, right now, there's a handful of people with 20 plus.
Wow.
The fastest that someone ever got, it was either 19 or 23 listings. I honestly don't know that. I know it was one of the 2, 19 or 23, and it was in about a year. Her name's Erica, and she got that in about a year. So that's like the fastest, but at the same time, I wouldn't necessarily yeah, I think it's good to have, like, a big vision, but we also have someone like I mentioned Chris before. He doesn't have that many properties, but he's got some big properties that bring in a lot of money.
Mhm.
So, he might, like, at I don't know exactly how many properties he's at, maybe 6, maybe 6 or 8 roughly about there. He got some properties that are gonna bring in more than if someone had 15 average properties, let's just say.
Mhm.
So, it's not just about the unit count, and then the other thing I'll say too is, like, just starting out, I wouldn't really focus too much on I'm not saying you are, but I'm just saying in general. I wouldn't focus on being too picky about the property. It's really just a race to get your foot in the door because like I said, then it'll start to snowball. You'll have the credibility, you'll have the confidence, you'll have the experience, and then you can go from there.
Awesome. For managing the finances, do you recommend QuickBooks?
I like QuickBooks personally. That's what I use. It just makes it easy because you can do the bookkeeping and collect payments in one. You could use Stripe, but then you don't have anything for bookkeeping, and I think it's just easier. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, I mean, I don't have any more questions right now, but
Okay.
possibly will like as I go along on the journey.
Cool.
And I think we should connect soon and see where I am in a couple of months.
Heck yeah. Let's put a goal out there just so we can look back at this video. What's your goal for getting your very first co-hosting client? Let's put it out there and then we'll look back at this.
Time wise, or
Yeah.
and right now I have to make a choice whether to do this. So I work 2 jobs, and I I'm coming to kind of like a crossroads where I know that I need to start my own thing, and if I choose not to work one of my jobs by the end of the month, I'd like to have a client, which means I can like watch all the training every day for several hours and then go through with all the strategies that you described. So I would say that by end of this month, I'd like to have at least one client. By end of second month, I'd like to have at least like 3 to 4. And I know
Sweet.
that's probably ambitious, but hey, want to go for it.
Yeah, it's ambitious, but I'll tell you, like, it's totally possible. It's literally just a matter of how many people are you talking to? Out of all the different factors I've seen, It just the more people you talk to, the more clients you're gonna get. It's not easy, but it's that simple, truthfully. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for you. You're definitely like on the right track. I think we definitely have a good plan in place. So we'll reconnect in a little bit and see where you're at.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bailey.
All right, Max. Have a good one, man. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
All
Bye.
right.